The recording has started.
I have 5:33. Chair Hyland, would you like to introduce the meeting?
Why don't you go ahead, Cheryl?
Okay. This is the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force Education Outreach and Training Committee. The date is May 24. The time is 5:33. This is a remote regular meeting. Remote meeting via teleconference is https://bit.ly/3WHAKZO. The password is sunshine. Public comment call-in is 415-655-0001. The meeting ID is 2481-320-8004 ##. Press *3 to enter the speaker line. Remote access to information and participation. In accordance with Governor Newsom's Executive Order N-33-20, declaring a state of emergency regarding the COVID-19 outbreak, and Mayor London and Breed's proclamation declaring a local emergency issued on February 25, 2020, including the guidance for gatherings issued by the San Francisco Department of Public Health officer, aggressive directives were issued to reduce the spread of COVID-19. On March 17, 2020, the Board of Supervisors authorized their board and committee meetings to convene remotely via Microsoft Teams and will allow remote public comment via teleconference. Members of the public may participate by phone or may submit their comments by email to cheryl.leger@sfgov.org, that's CHERYL.LEGER@sfgov.org. All comments received will be made a part of the official record. Sunshine Ordinance Task Force agendas and their associated documents are available at sfbos.org/sunshine. Again, the public call-in telephone number is 1-415-655-0001. The meeting ID is 2481-320-8004 ##. As the COVID-19 disease progresses, please visit the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force website regularly to be updated on the current situation as it affects the legislative process. Chair Hyland, do you want to read meeting decorum?
Please go ahead, Cheryl. Thank you.
Meeting decorum. Any member of the Any member of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force may call for decorum due to disorderly conduct of meeting participants. Persons who engage in threatening and/or menacing behavior may be asked to leave. Chair Hyland, shall we call item number 1?
Yes, please.
Item number 1, call to order, roll call, and agenda changes. Roll call. Tuan Tao Hill. Present. Member Padmanabhan, absent. Chair Hyland.
Present.
Chair Hyland present. We have a quorum. With regard to agenda changes, I had discussed this with Chair Hyland earlier. File number 22053 will not be called. We heard from the petitioner who asked that his complaint against Supervisor Connie Chan be withdrawn.
Very good. Thank you.
Item number 2, adoption of the minutes for the January 11, 2022 Education Outreach and Training Committee meeting. Now, at that meeting, at the March 22nd meeting, we discussed the minutes, and Chair Hyland asked me to make a change towards the end of the minutes. Item number 8, announcements, comments, questions, and future agenda items by members of the Education Outreach and Training Committee. I did forward to you, Chair Hyland, the language for that item.
Hold on one second, Cheryl. We're doing January 11th meeting, correct?
Yeah, January 11th.
You said March, but you're talking about January minutes, right?
Yeah, at the March meeting, we discussed the January 11 minutes.
I understand. Okay, go ahead.
So you asked for a review of Member Wolf's statement from the January 11 minutes, and I did. I listened to the hearing proceeding, and I think it's ready for, I think these minutes are ready to be accepted. And
yeah, quick look. Yeah, that's a good summary. That's what I remember right there. Item 8, Member Wolf stated that the affirmation letter should be sent to all parties in every complaint, and if we get a positive affirmation of violation, we can proceed with the expediting hearing process. Very good, yes. And then I also mentioned original records requests be on the index cover to each complaint, just to help us get our bearings. Everything else looks pretty good to me. Member Hill, obviously you weren't at this meeting since this is your first meeting with us, but I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
And I will second that motion.
There being a mover and a seconder, would you like to call for public comment at this time?
Are we taking these together? No, they're different items. Yeah, let's have public comment on item 2, which are the minutes.
If anybody on the line would like to make public comment on this item and you're calling in, please press *3 to raise your hand. If you are using your computer to log in or application, you can hit the raise your hand icon to raise your hand. Once I see that your hand is raised, I will recognize you for public comment. I do not see any hands raised, so I do not believe we have any public comment for this matter.
All right, let's call the roll, please, Cheryl.
Actually, one moment. We have one person with a hand raised, so let's double check.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. This is public comment.
This is public comment. This is not when I speak on my agenda item.
No, it is not.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because this is all new to us.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead and lower your hand, but I can do that for you. Don't worry about it. Okay, that completes public comment for this item.
Okay, so we go with the vote.
Yes, please.
Chair Hyland?
Aye.
Chair Hyland, aye. Member Hill?
Aye.
Member Hill, aye. Moved by Chair Hyland, seconded by Member Hill to approve the January 11, 2020 meeting minutes.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Okay, shall I read item number 3, sir?
Please.
Item number 3, adoption of the minutes for the March 22nd, 2022 Education Outreach and Training Committee meeting. I have a copy of the minutes. Chair Hyland, did you have any comments?
No, I'm just double checking that all the votes were correct.
Yeah, I tried to be very careful with the votes.
Yeah, a lot of good detail in there too. Well done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And all the public comment that we had for the second item.
Yes, there's a lot of stuff there. And then the Windsor Pillier, that's all right there. Very good. Yeah, that looks good. I'll make a motion to approve the March minutes.
I'll second that motion.
So we'll take some public comment on those minutes. Once again, members of the public, raise your hands using the app if you are interested in making public comment.
And if you're calling in, you can press *3 to raise your hand. Okay, I do not see anybody raising their hand at this time. I think we can conclude public comment.
Thank you.
Can we call the vote?
Yes, please.
Chair Hyland?
Aye.
Chair Hyland, aye. Member Hill?
Aye.
Member Hill, aye. Moved by Chair Hyland, seconded by Member Hill to approve the March 22, 2022 minutes. Chair Hyland, the next item I have is general public comment. Are we ready?
Yes, please.
Item number 4, public comment. Members of the public may address the Education, Outreach, and Training Committee on matters that are within the committee's jurisdiction, but not on today's agenda.
Yes, if any members of the public would like to make general public comment, you may raise your hand to indicate that you would like to speak. If you're on the phone, you can hit *3. If you're in the application, you can hit the little symbol for the hand to raise your hand. Please raise your hand at this time if you'd like to make general public comment. I do not see anyone wishing to make general public comment at this time.
Okay, general public comment is closed.
Shall we hear the next item, Chair Hyland?
Yes, please.
Item
And before we hear this item, first of all, I want to welcome Member Tao Hill to the subcommittee. Very excited to have you here. I didn't get a chance to talk with you before this, but basically what we do in education outreach is twofold. The first is we hear cases that have been referred to us from the main committee, but we also hear brand new, fresh cases as we are now. It's complaint committee. It must be July 4th next outside. I have fireworks going off. And so what we, well, I'm going to pause 1 second. Okay, as I was saying. So basically we're kind of hearing the complaint for the first time, and we're really just making sure that we have all the information that we need to be able to send it up to full task force. So it's a fine line of not quite getting into the merits of the case, but making sure we have apples to apples and all the information we need, so that once it goes to the full task force, we can dive into the merits. So that's just to give you an idea of how we do it. So we're lightly unpackaging it, making sure everything's in order, and then typically recommending it up to the full task force. Okay, with that, Ms. Leger, if you can read the next item. Thank you.
Item number 5, file number 21125, complaint filed by Liza Morosky against the Department of Public Health for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 6721 by failing to respond to a public records request in a timely and or complete manner. So this is one of the cases we're first hearing about, Member Hill.
Thank you.
This is Victor Young. If you are a participant, a complainant, or a respondent in this matter, if you can go ahead and raise your hand by hitting *3, or otherwise raising your hand through the application, just so I can recognize you. Thank you very much. I am unmuting the people who are participants in this matter. Okay, we have everyone unmuted who has indicated they are a participant in this matter.
Hi, my name is Liza Morowski, and I have asked for information.
Ms. Morosky, Chair Hyland, are we ready to start hearing people?
Oh.
Hyland is muted.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Morosky, are you ready to begin?
I am, thank you.
Sorry, I just wanted to give everyone a briefing on how we normally handle these. I believe Chair Hyland was trying to state it while he was muted. We will allow the complainant to speak, or usually it's approximately 5 minutes. Then we will allow the respondent to provide their comments. After that, there'll be a question and answer period and possibly a rebuttal after that. So I don't mean to interrupt, but Ms. Morowski, I believe you're up, and Cheryl will let you know when she is beginning the timer.
Ms. Morosky, are you ready to begin?
I am, thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, members. In 2017, our building, the Jordan Apartments, went through a RAD conversion, which stands for a Rental Assistance Demonstration. I have had Conrad and John Stewart here for several different issues. It has been found that it is in your jurisdiction. They are contracted by Behavioral Health and DPH to serve as supportive housing case management in a protected class building. It's clear that Conrad is a nonprofit that owns the Jordan Apartments, does not believe as residents that we should be advised of the construction and the completion dates. Let me remind you, this was to begin in 2017 and usually takes about 18 months. To begin the conversion, over $400,000 were granted to the Jordan, yet little has been changed or improved. RAD was created to sustain low-income buildings and offer the residents a choice mobility voucher, better known in layman's terms, a Section 8 voucher. Conrad has not complied with the agreements made with the Jordan residents since 2017, nor the work has been completed in over 4 years and is far from completion. The Jordan also has numerous violations from the Department of Building Inspections on the quality of work and permit compliance. According to the HUD and RAD website, it indicates that the main goal of RAD are to secure Section 8 housing and to improve the living conditions of our residents. It states the residents may receive a mobility choice voucher after 1 year. According to the custodian of records, the Department of Public Health does not have the Jordan listed as a RAD conversion, nor under the Department of Housing Authority. According to the RAD conversion website, it quotes residents can ask about impacts in their rent repairs of the property. It also states participating in RAD's resident meeting through the RAD process is the best way to ensure the residents' voice is heard. Jordan and Conrad continue to deny us the right to resident counsel and to keep us abreast of the timeline or completion at the cost of the unhealthy and dangerous living conditions. Pardon me. In 2020, John Stewart was given a notice of violation, and on January 2022, they were given a 33-page of violations from the Department of Building Inspections and the Department of Public Health environmentalist and code inspections. It is not until March 31st when I won a hearing against them with Department of Building Inspections that some of the hazardous conditions of the Jordans were now being addressed. It was ordered by the judge to have the problems abated within 30 days. These have not yet been abated. The main purpose for a RAD conversion prior is properties are basically not funded at 100% in public housing. After, properties are placed on a more stable Section 8 funding platform. Before RAD in public housing, PHAs cannot borrow money to perform necessary repairs. After a RAD conversion, PHAs and owners can now more easily borrow money and perform rehabilitation work. Prior to a RAD, the funding fails to keep up with the deteriorating living conditions of residents. After, the living conditions of residents are improved. Let me remind you, 33 pages of violation in January of 2022, as well as violations from DPH. They are not allowing us a resident counsel. They owe each resident $25 per year since they signed up to the conversion, and they're denied.
30 seconds.
Prior to a conversion, residents cannot choose to move without losing housing. After, residents may receive a tenant-based voucher, similar assistance after 1 year, and a Section 8 portable housing voucher. All of this has been denied to the residents of the Jordan Apartments since 2017, and the Department of Public Health refers to this case as closed, and they do not have any records on file per the controller. Thank you for
Ms.
your time.
Morosky, your time is up. Mr. Young, I'm ready for the respondent.
You can call on them. They are all unmuted. I do not need to be involved in this part of the meeting.
All right. Is there a respondent from the Department of Public Health?
Yeah, Allison Hawks is here.
Okay.
Should I just get started?
Nope.
I'll go ahead.
Are you ready to begin, ma'am?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. So Liza Murawski opened public records request 212852 on June 9th, 2021. On June 16th, 2021, the custodian of records at the time confirmed in writing that DPH has no responsive records and closed the request. Ms. Murawski now alleges that DPH failed to respond to a request in a timely or complete manner. Neither of these allegations regarding lack of timeliness or completeness are accurate. This request was responded to and closed by DPH 7 calendar days after Ms. Murawski opened her request, which is within the 10-day calendar window. DPH's response on June 16, 2021, which remains now, is that the department has no responsive records to Ms. Murawski's request. DPH again confirms that it does not have responsive records and that our original response was complete. For more context, DPH Behavioral Health Services contracts with Kennard House to provide 2 types of services: 1, outpatient services and supportive housing services, and 2, rep payee services. DPH programming oversight is related to delivery of mental health services and to manage public income benefits. DPH does not have any data available that is responsive to this request because the department does not monitor or oversee housing slots availability as outlined by Ms. Murawski. So Ms. Murawski has been provided with a copy of the contract between DPH and Kennard House. As was done on June 16th, 2021, DPH affirms that it has no responsive records to this request and considers this request closed. Thank you. And today I'm also joined by Elise Miller, the Behavioral Health Services Program Manager, who manages our Kennard House contract and can speak more specifically about the records requested. Thank you.
Okay, so we have another speaker for the respondent. Can you state your name, please?
Yes, my name's Elise Miller. I'm with Adult and Older Adult System of Care. I'm a program manager with Behavioral Health Services, and I'm here mostly to answer any questions that you have.
Can I just ask you to spell your last name?
Miller, yeah, M-I-L-L-E-R.
Okay, perfect. And
is there anyone else here that would like to respond on behalf of the respondent? I'm not sure we asked the same question for the petitioner, but we usually ask if anyone else wants to make themselves party to this, they can speak at that point. So anyone that would like to respond to the respondent part of this, please raise your hands now. Victor, I'm not seeing any hands being raised. And Cheryl, I don't think we asked after Ms. Murawski talked if anyone wanted to speak in support of her. So let's ask that right now as well.
okay.
That's part of our normal process. So if you wanted to talk after Ms. Murawski as party to her, please raise your hand now. Okay, all right. Now we can proceed. The matter is before us, members of the committee, for discussion and any questions we might have of either party.
Before we begin that, Chair Hyland, did we want to have Ms. Miller did she want to make a comment?
No, I believe she's already said that she's available for questions. And
Okay.
she can be part of rebuttal if she wants to, but yes. So, Member Hill, just to give you some background, we've heard a couple of Ms. Morawski's cases in the last 6 to 9 months. There's a couple of moving parts here. DPH, Conard Housing under 12LC. And so you're kind of jumping in midstream to this, but feel free to ask any questions of either party.
Just a point of clarification: is the crux of the request that, and this is to Chair Hyland, is the crux of the request that the complaint is looking for a set of survey results that that is not recorded by either by the Department of Public Health? Is that essentially the crux of the
That's how I read it. And in fact, I wanted to ask Ms. Morawski to clarify exactly what she's asking for, because the request is fairly general. It doesn't list a year or anything like that. It's just a survey. So, Ms. Morawski, if you'd like to answer that. I know you've gotten better at these information requests, but this one does seem rather open. And again, we have to go purely by what's in your written request, which is before us, not what you meant to ask for or anything additional that you would like. Now we're really looking strictly at the request, which I will read to you. I would like to request the results of the Conard House Quality Assurance Residential Survey. This survey covered the purpose of the participation and the confidentialities conducted by Conard Mental Health, which included all cooperative apartments, the El Dorado, the Jordan, the Lyric, the Midori, the Plaza, and the Washburn. So that's the basis of your request.
This particular request that's true. They did a survey during COVID, and it was given out to all of the residents, and very specific questions were asked. Some very sexual questions were asked. Some I thought were inappropriate. And so I asked to see the results of those surveys and what the purpose of it was. If we're going to be used as subjects, then we're allowed to know what that subject matter is going to be used for. And they refused to tell what the data was, the outcome, or what their intent was.
Okay. So
and the same is the same with the public board meeting minutes. They're just not releasing these things, and yet we're the topic of that.
Okay, we're just going to stick with this survey because that's
the survey. So I'd like to know what happened to these results. What were the purpose?
Okay.
Because generally these are done for funding purposes.
Yeah, let's start with what year this survey was purportedly conducted.
It was during COVID, so I apologize for the exact. I do not know the exact date. I believe it was the end of 2019, 2020, right in the middle of the height of the. So it started in March, so April, May, June, July, August. I would probably say 6 or 8 months into the pandemic.
Okay.
And I've asked again for a copy of it, and they refused to send me a copy of it so that I can present you with an exact date.
Okay, I'm going to turn this around now to the respondent, and I'm sorry, if you could both state your names again, Ms. Miller and Ms.
Hawks. Ms. Hawks.
Sorry, one more time.
Ms. Hawks.
Hawks, like the bird?
Like the bird.
Got it. All right. So I'm looking at in our packet, which may be different than what you're seeing, but it's the top of page 20. The meat and bones of the request is what I just read. And I see a response right underneath it from Ann Quaintance. Hi, Lisa. The purpose of the Quality Assurance Residential Survey, so that's at least we have a title for the survey now, is for Conard House to evaluate and enhance services and is not a public document. So it sounds like this document does exist. You've acknowledged that. So was there a QARS at the end of 2020? Let's establish that first. Does this document exist?
I am sorry, but I thought we were under the impression that we were going to be discussing a complaint regarding housing ladder placement, RAD project, RAD transfer, Section 8 vouchers, not a survey result.
I'm looking at the basis of the information request, and that's what I'm reading. So let's start with that piece first.
I'm sorry, we're not prepared to talk about the survey results. I did not come prepared for that. I came prepared to talk about public records request number 21-2852, which has to do with housing slots availability.
Okay. Well, perhaps your compatriot, Ms. Miller, can answer this question. Was that survey conducted?
Hi, thank you so much for the question. I also wasn't aware that this question would be asked, so my apologies.
Okay.
If I may speak, Chair Hyland.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, and again, just clarification for everyone that's on the line here, and I think that's what we're trying to get to the bottom of, is that Miss Ann Quaintance, who is the CEO Executive Director of Conard House, had responded that there was a quality assurance residential survey for Conard House to evaluate and enhance services. And so I guess my question is, if you could help me understand this, when a survey like this is being conducted by a group such as Conard House, is it and you also may answer that you're not that this is not something that you would cover, and if this is not something that you would cover, if you could let us know who would be the person responsible for that. Would these surveys typically be submitted to the Department of Public Health, or the results of those surveys? Is that something that you would be aware of, that you could inform us of, or if not, could you let us know who would be the person that would be aware of whether these surveys would be submitted to you?
I think we will need to investigate that. I'm so sorry, but we're not prepared for questions around this survey. We were here to talk about the housing slots availability, not the survey, which I'm not even aware of. So I apologize, but I just can't answer any further questions around that.
That's fine. Understood. Understood. Yeah, this is file number 21125.
I mean, I think the best thing I can say is we can get back to you if there's somebody who knows more about that, but I just don't have any information on that right now.
Ms. Borowski, are we on the right track? Is that what you're asking for, that survey result?
Yeah, and it is. That is one of them. And you know what? This is the 5th, 6th time, and the 4th time that they can never come up with an answer. Last time that's
okay, Ms. Borowski. That's all I wanted to know.
I understand, but why am I prepared? And this is consistently, they are not prepared. If they're always on the wrong page.
Ms. Borowski, I'm going to stop you right there. I just wanted a direct answer to my question. So, all right. So I'm reading the request as on page 20, which was that survey. Okay. And it looks like Ms. Quaintance confirmed that there is a survey, but that it's not public. Okay. Now I'm not seeing anything else. And Member Hill helped me here. I'm not seeing anything else in the original request. I mean, there's an email chain and whatnot. And this is why, I always want the original records request at the top, front, and center of each case. And so this records request was submitted, and it has the pieces there. Now, there's further emails here.
They seem unrelated to the request.
Right, and I'm not. That's the problem. I don't know why, Cheryl. Why is this all squashed together? Why? It looks like one issue is conflated into another. Can you help us out with that?
All right, let me take a look.
Seems like an ongoing conversation, which now is becoming part of this case, which it's not. The case.
Hi, this is Victor. Victor Young.
Yeah.
Part of the issue is when parties submit documents, we automatically put it into the file. We do not exclude anything submitted to us. The second part is I do not know if the request went to Conrad House and if they are a nonprofit agency. If the request went to Conrad, we wouldn't have jurisdiction if they're a nonprofit because that would fall under 12L for nonprofit. I don't know if this request was submitted to Public Health or was it submitted to Conrad as a nonprofit. Or if I'm not sure on the nature of not on Conrad, so I defer to you to figure out the details of that.
You're right. I think we've had this discussion before that Conrad is a contractor DPH and therefore under 12L is required to produce documents, or DPH is required to help a petitioner get documents from Conrad. That was my understanding. That's where we left it on other cases. But once again, I'm looking at this discrete information request and only that. And that's on page 20. Dear Anne, a survey. And then, Dear Lisa, it's not public. That's it. Okay, anything after that is like you said, information that is back and forth between petitioner and the respondents, plural, but is not, in my reading, germane to this particular information request.
It appears that everything in the packet that's following is referencing a different request number.
I agree, and this is we've had this issue before, Ms. Morawski, and I'm not blaming you. It's more the way we put this package together. These needs to be discrete, simple requests, and going forward. And I know you're getting better at this. Reference the date, the exact thing you want. Keep that as one request, and it's much easier for us rather than conflating everything. So, based on that, based on what we have here, there is a document, it does exist, and then we have to determine whether under 12L we have jurisdiction or not. And I believe we do because we have a precedent in a previous matter that we heard with Ms. Morawski. So, based on that, my first take would be to recommend this to the full task force to, in particular, look at 12L and look at that one request on page 20 and nothing else, just to keep us focused. But let me step off the podium and let people talk a little bit. Member Hill, do you have any questions for either party? We can, if not, we can go to rebuttals and let them give them a few minutes each to talk a bit more about this specific information request.
I have no specific questions about the request that's on the agenda.
Okay, all right. So I'm gonna open it up for rebuttals here, and respondents go first. And keep in mind, we're focusing purely on what's on page 20. All right, the original request where it says, the quality assurance residential survey. That's what this is about. So if you'd like to speak to that, we'd be happy to hear your rebuttal. And Ms. Leger will let you know when she's ready.
I'm ready. Ms. Hawks, are you going to speak?
I'm sorry. What is the question that we're handling right now on this?
This is not a question. This is time for rebuttal. So the parties to have 3 minutes to conclude their statements.
So just to clarify, Ms. Hawks, we are looking purely on page 20 at the original information request. I'll read it again into the record so everyone's clear. And I know you said you're not prepared to speak to it, and if you don't have anything to add, that's okay. But basically, this is Ms. Morawski's request as follows. I would like to request the results of the Conard House Quality Assurance Residential Survey. This survey covered the purpose of the participation and the confidentialities conducted by Conard Mental Health, which included all cooperative apartments, the El Dorado, the Jordan, the Lyric, the Midori, the Plaza, and the Washburn. And to that, Ms. Quaintance responded, the purpose of the Quality Assurance Residential Survey is for Conard House to evaluate and enhance services and is not a public document. So basically, you could talk about why you think that's not a public document, and we will take that into consideration when we write the minutes for this meeting and at the full task force.
I mean, I just have a question. Did this request actually come to DPH, or did it go to Conard House and that's where it sits?
It looks like it went to Ann Quaintance.
From Conard House?
Yes. Request from
So
Lisa Morawski to Conard Mental Health Supportive Housing.
So, I mean, rather than going to the next task force meeting, could Ms. Morawski just file a public records request with DPH on this? I just feel kind of hesitant about answering any questions around a records request that wasn't even filed to DPH.
Well,
so I think we can answer that question. I mean, we can work on getting a response to her, but it hasn't come to us yet. So why would we be answering for a case that has not come to DPH?
Well, looking at the Google Forms, you know, the actual records request, you are included in that. It says complaint against which department or commission? Department of Public Health. Name of individual contacted at department or commission. Ann Quaintance, CEO, Conard Mental Health.
Hi, this is Victor Young again. I think we need to figure out if Conard House is a nonprofit agency or not. Because if it is, if the request went to Conard House as a nonprofit, the complaint needs to go initially to DPH before it becomes to the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force. They need to work with DPH to get the documents before it comes to the task force. And that's pursuant to 12L. Because the request did not go to DPH, it did go to Conard House.
Yeah, Victor, and you know, I'm looking at this Google Forms, which I think generated the complaint through what's the software they use?
That is the BOS form for submitting forms. But the thing is, people can write anything they want in there. And if you notice in my questions when I wrote the summary, I did put that question in there. I did write this as the administrator based upon the complaint form. There is a possibility that the request for records was sent to the Conard Mental Health Incorporated and not Public Health. So the complaint can't be against Public Health if they never received the request.
Okay. But if we've already established in a previous OD that Conard House is a contractor and to DPH and is responsible for records requests, could Ms. Morawski not just petition them directly like she has here?
They're separate entities. How would the Public Health know that there's a request if it was never sent to Public Health? I believe that Mr. Hill has a question.
Thank you. The page 18 mentions the complaint summary. Lisa Murkowski versus Department of Public Health, and has the contact information of both Lisa Morawski and a Christine Padilla, and has sfdph.com listed. So I'm first curious is if Ms. Padilla has received a copy of this complaint on 9/20/2021. That's my first question. And then my second question is, and again, I apologize for this is my first time looking some of this, excuse me, reviewing some of this information. If someone could help me understand and someone had alluded to this, that you mentioned the Google form. Is that a form that's located on our website, on the City and County of San Francisco's website? So did Miss Liza submit this request through a form that's on the City and County of San Francisco's website, or where is that form located?
This is Victor Young. The Google form to file complaints there's a link to it on the SOTF website. And basically they can fill that out and it comes to the SOTF email address. And once we get that, we review it and try to open a complaint file based on that Google document.
Understood.
I believe Cheryl was trying to say something.
Yes.
Do you have anything
No, I
to
was
say?
just going to explain what that was. And you said exactly what I was going to say.
Okay.
And remember,
So it looks like that Christine Padilla actually was included in the complaint. If I'm reading it. No,
She's not there anymore. Christine Padilla is not with DPH anymore.
If I can explain that for Mr. Hill, each department has a custodian of records, and then if there's a complaint against that department, we try to give it to that custodian of records so that they can respond to the complaint on behalf of the department.
Did Ms. Padilla respond to this complaint?
I can check the responses.
While Victor checks, Tao, what you're seeing on page 18 is the SOTF summary of the case. All right. Yes. It's nothing to do with the intake form. It's not what the petitioner actually filed.
I understand.
So that summary there, file 21225, is something our administrator writes. So again, this is why, folks, I really want to see the original records request in its entirety, as much as we can get it, at this first step in the complaint committee, because this is going to sort out a lot of issues. We can only focus on what that records request is. And Ms. Morawski, I recommend you go back and you resubmit this with a correct date. Let's say, fall of 2020, whatever it was. Go back to DPH, because the buck stops with them, and submit this request to them. I think that's going to get you your answers the quickest way. We can't really get into discussion of 12L and whatnot.
Statement?
Sorry, I'm still talking. If DPH is not included in this. So you may now respond. Go ahead.
They are, and I have been doing this since 2017, 18. And I just give credit to the clerk, because it always has to go to the department first. It is drilled to go to the Department of Public Health. We have, in several meetings, have determined that Clonard House is a contract and that it is in this jurisdiction. Otherwise, I would not keep coming here for hearings. I'm simply asking for proper public record. I am doing it correctly. It is gone to the Department of Public Health. Their inconsistencies should not be the problem of the community, nor the residents at the Jordan.
All right, Ms. Morawski, again, we're looking at what's in front of us, and it looks like it was addressed directly to Clonard House. So going forward, put both parties in your records request. That's the best advice I can give you at this point.
Chair Hawley, may I ask a question for you? The packet that was included, I just want to make sure that I want to make sure that the packet that was included wasn't inadvertent for some reason, because it to me it feels like the information that's provided behind it is unrelated to this request. And that may be a question for either Victor or Cheryl. I just want to confirm that the information that was included as the packet may have been, was it inadvertently included with this file number, because it appears to be related to a different file number.
Okay, well, when I get information from a petitioner or a respondent, I typically tell them, please, in your correspondence to me, use this complaint number. And if they don't, I have to use my best judgment on where it belongs. You know, I read it, I think about it, and if it, I make my best judgments. If it's not clear to the committee, I apologize, but I try to make that consistently in all of the correspondence I want, especially when I'm setting up a complaint.
Thank you for that, Cheryl. I do notice that that both on page 36 that it references two different file numbers,
It does.
21-125 and also 22-035. So I guess my question is just that has the other file number? Oh, actually, it continues to list other complaints as well. So I'm assuming,
So
Chair,
what
that
you're
this
talking
is
about is
yeah.
something that goes in several complaint files. Is that what you're saying? Well, then that's
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
what they asked. Then that's what they asked.
Yes, ma'am. I understand that. And that's the clarification that I needed. I just wanted to make sure that that there wasn't maybe a packet of information that was related to this specific file that we aren't seeing. But it looks like as though this is just a comprehensive file of maybe multiple requests, but there's nothing in it that's really related to this particular request.
Yeah, and Ms. Morosky, let me ask you, because your complaint was original, Google form was September 20th, right? Which we see in front of us on pages 20 and 21 in its entirety. And then the next thing we see is an email from you to us on September 23rd talking about RAD, inquiry, rebuttals, DPH 2128, a completely different matter. So I think members Hill and I are reading this the same way. I know you probably have several different requests going on, but we have to deal with what's in front of us. Would you like to talk to that in your rebuttal? And you have 3 minutes to do that.
She's the petitioner, so we want the respondent to go first.
I think the response, we haven't got to, okay, all right.
We haven't gotten to rebuttals yet.
Yeah, you're right. Let me hold that question then. All right, so Ms. Hawks, hopefully this makes sense as to where we're at. If there's anything you'd like to talk about, you may. If not, you can give up your time, and we'll hear from Ms. Morosky.
All right, Ms. Hawks, you ready?
Yes.
Go ahead, ma'am.
I will just give up my time. I mean, I think we're happy to receive the request for records on this item. So, and we'll be able to respond to that request once it comes into DPH. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Ms. Morosky, are you ready to begin with your statement?
Yes, can I please have her complete email address so that I can resubmit it again?
Is this your statement, ma'am, or are you just asking for information?
Well, I'm asking for information because I need to know where to send it, because this is like the 4th time somebody's been making me do this and sending me around everywhere.
Okay, Ms.
As far
Leger,
as
can
the
give you.
files go, I think that they're completely incorrect. I've asked for files on 3 different cases and they're all convoluted. They're all mixed up together. So what I will do is put them in, I've sent them, there's 3 of them. One is about the RAD. One is from DPH about case management ratio to client-centered care. And the other one was about community minutes. This was the 4th one. I could care. You can test all the people you want. It just continues to show that they're not consistent with giving people public record. And now my records are in order, but obviously you have ones that are mixed in, and this is news to me that like threads are not, I don't know how you would put threads into one email or not. So I don't know how they got so mixed up, but I would like the clarification of the file numbers of all 3 cases so that next time I come into this hearing, that a week before I'll submit the packet in its entirety that pertains only to that subject. Because this is the 3rd time we've come here about a RAD conversion, and it's not about that. It's always about a different subject. And then every time I get blamed for the same thing, for not sending it to the Department of Public Health. That's the only place I've ever sent it. And every time, and last time I had to prove the date and the time of when I sent it and the form saying that it was sent to the Department of Public Health. It shows in the Google Docs it was sent to the Department of Public Health. It has been proven that Conard is a contractor. And I come here all the time and it's the same debate over and over and over again for the people.
Ms. Borowski, if I may, I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your your persistence. This committee, this task force, part of what we do is we seek to to guide our citizens in the best way possible, so that we can give you so that we can help you get a concise response. And I just want you to just realize that that is what we are attempting to do, and that we want to get resolution for this as much as you do. In our opinion, we feel that the best way for you to get a direct resolution to this would be, and I'm sure that we'll be happy to provide you the email address of the person, of those who you can send a direct email to. Any person in the city who receives an email requesting records, it will be incumbent upon them to make sure that they get it to the right person. We hope that, and we apologize that that you're having to possibly do this again. But we feel that if you make this direct request using the email address that we would provide to you, that we will be able to get a more direct response for you. So I appreciate if you help us out with that, and we'll do everything that we can to help you out.
Thank you.
Okay, and on the back of that, Ms. Morawski, I'm going to make a motion to continue this to the call of the chair. So that way we keep your file open, and that's specifically the file about the survey request. So if you go ahead and go through the Google Forms and submit another request directed to DPH and Conard House, and then if they don't give you the documents, which they've already acknowledged here that you're asking for, we will add that to this file. We'll hear it again here at Complaint Committee. We'll package it up. Then we'll get into the whole discussion of 12L again. And by that time, hopefully, we'll also have the OD, which we had from a few months ago, that we can include in that package. So I'd like to get this all packaged up nicely to get you what you want. I'm going to ask Ms. Hawks right now to give us that email address that you should write to, so we can get that on the record. And I'm going to do that first, and then I'll make my motion. So Ms. Hawks, could you give Ms. Morawski the email address that she should use to submit this records request?
Yes,
of
course.
Just before you do that, I just Chair Hyland sent to Ms. Morawski, Ms. Hawks' email address as is in the directory in our telephone system.
Great. Can you just read that out to us, Cheryl, so Ms. Hawks can confirm that's correct?
You're Allison Hawks, correct, ma'am?
Yeah, it is. I just want to say that we would, rather than go through my very busy inbox, I think it would be better to go through our process of the next request system. That is really how everything comes in and gets assigned. So I just want to be mindful. I don't want to miss anything, because I know, I know we want to make sure we catch every request that comes in. There is also a DPH Sunshine email that maybe is the best one to send to if she needs that more personal or individual email address.
Okay. And what is that email address?
Yeah, it's dph.sunshine@sfdph.org.
Great. Thank you. All right.
But again, we track through the next request system, and that is how we manage and keep track of the many public records requests that we come in. So we like things to go through that door.
Right. But just so you know, they can come through any door.
Can come through any door.
That being one of them. So, Ms. Morawski, you have several different channels. maybe send an email and then also do next request. That way you have your cover on both channels. All right, I'm going to make a motion to continue this to the call of the chair.
Second that motion. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's have some public comment on this item, please. Thank you.
Yes, this is Victor Young. If you would like to make public comment on that motion for this item, please raise your hand at this time. You can press *3 to raise your hand, or you can raise your hand through the application. We have 1 moment. When I do unmute you, that is your cue to begin your public comment, and you can begin as soon as you hear you have been unmuted. Ms. Cheryl, are you ready to begin the timer?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I'm unmuting our first public commenter.
Hello? Are you ready to begin speaking?
Yes, thank you. Hi, my name is Edith.
Just a moment.
Okay.
Your name?
My name is Edith Castorena.
Can you spell your last name, please?
Yes, Castorena.
Okay, you get 3 minutes. Are you ready to begin?
Yes, thank you very much.
Go ahead.
All right. Thank you so much for giving me time to leave public comment here. I'm deeply disappointed in what the process has been for Liza, who has been a consistent community organizer. She is probably one of the most organized community members that I know. I am sure that she is following the rules the best that she can, given the circumstances, but ultimately it's a big disappointment that in order to receive public information, in order to receive information about things that these residents have shared, that they have to jump through all these hoops. She said that this is her 3rd time coming to this. I understand that public records requests at the Sunshine Ordinance, this is a lot of work. There's a lot of hoops to jump through, but it shouldn't be this hard to get information that these people had to provide. So thank you, and please remedy this. This is really disappointing to listen to. I yield the rest of my time.
Okay, I do not see anybody else with a hand raised for public comment on this matter.
Chair Hyland, should we go for the vote?
Yes, please.
Chair Hyland?
Yes, please.
Yes. Chair Hyland, I'm calling your name.
Aye.
Chair Hyland, aye. Member Hill?
Aye.
Member Hill, aye. Moved by Chair Hyland, seconded by Member Hill to continue the matter to the call of the chair.
And yes, this is Victor Young again. I'd just like to provide a bit of advice to everybody for all complaints. When you do submit documents to us, we would like it if you put a file number in the title. Otherwise, we sometimes don't know where to put the documents we receive. And it's very difficult to figure it out. Thank you very much.
Chair Hyland, are we ready for the next complaint?
Yes, please.
Item number 6, file number 22035, complaint filed by Gina McDonald against the Department of Emergency Management for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 6721 by failing to respond to a request for public records in a timely and/or complete manner.
Okay, are both parties present?
Yes, if you are a party to this matter, if you can go ahead and raise your hand so I can identify you, it would be appreciated. Okay, I see you. 1 moment. Okay, parties should have control over their own microphones for this matter.
I'm ready when you guys are.
Hold on, Ms. Leger, let you guys know.
Yes, we have the 2 participants, Gina McDonald and Victor Lim.
All right. Stand by for Ms. Leger to let you start, Ms. McDonald.
Ms. McDonald, are you ready to begin?
I am.
You have 5 minutes. You may begin.
Okay, thank you very much, you guys. I know this is a lot of work for you guys and you're inundated, so I very much appreciate all the work you do. So I made a public records request on February 27th of 2022, and I asked for all communications, including email, text messages, any messaging service or app used in communication regarding the Tenderloin Linkage Center and its fenced-in area. It was to include communication between all government and non-governmental agencies involved in the operation of the Linkage Center, including communications with nonprofit agencies. I received a reply from DEM asking me for more specific information because I guess my request was too broad. I narrowed it down for them. I answered every question they had for me. And in return, they provided me records that were procedural documents. I made, just a little bit of background, I made this request to Department of Public Health, Department of Public Works, and also the Mayor's Office. All three of those agencies have complied with communications and messaging and emails and text messages regarding the Tenderloin Linkage Center and the outdoor area. I've never, including DEM involved in those messaging, in those emails. So I do have some of their emails through the other agencies. I know there are more. There's been, there's obvious missing links in those emails, and I've answered their questions fully, and I'm only receiving procedural documents. I'm not saying that they haven't provided me documents in a timely manner. I'm saying that they haven't complied with full transparency. And I just would appreciate a little bit more information than just procedural documents. I yield the rest of my time.
Okay, is anybody here who would like to speak in support of Ms. McDonald? Please raise your hands on the app.
I do not see any additional hands raised at this time.
Okay.
Are we ready for the respondent to speak?
Hi there, Victor Lim here, External Affairs Officer from the San Francisco Department of Emergency Management.
Are you ready to begin speaking? You have 5 minutes.
So if members of the board here, we submitted a response, and on page 274 of the packet, we have the response. I'm not going to read through all of it, but in regards to Ms. McDonald's request, first of all, thank you to her response and her willingness to narrow the request. And so we followed her narrow request and her additional definitions to do a thorough search of all the documents that we had. We did an initial search and we provided to her. She felt that we didn't provide everything, so went back and we additionally checked in with our staff members again that worked directly at the Linkage Center. Now, the request that she submitted to us, we went back and forth with a more narrowed request. So I'm not sure if the requests that she submitted to the other departments are more broad, hence getting a little bit more responses. But following up on everything that she's asking for, we've submitted everything that we have on file with the key terms that are responsive to the search parameters for Ms. McDonald's request. And subsequently, when we did go through a second follow-up to be completely thorough about it, we did find additional responsive documents that match the requester's parameters, and we provided it to Ms. McDonald. If you have any questions, we provided a 7-page response. We have a detailed timeline of the exchanges of our emails, starting with her request. Just to clarify, Ms. McDonald did submit her original request to our Executive Director, Mary Ellen Carroll. However, the first email that we did receive is dated March the 1st. We did go back and check to see if there were other requests that may have come in on March the February the 27th. The packet here with the 7-page response does provide a detailed timeline on our exchanges between our department and Mr. McDonald. So, to the members of the Sunshine Task Force here, we believe that we have not violated any of the requests that we did. I understand she's not saying it's untimely, but that we believe from our perspective, it is a complete response.
Okay, thank you.
Chair Hyland, if you don't mind me interrupting to do a little bit of housekeeping for a quick moment.
Yes, absolutely. Go ahead.
Ms. Groves, are you here for your item against Supervisor Chan?
Terribly sorry. Yes, I am. I understand it was requested to be off of the agenda, but I thought I would appear just in case.
Okay. Ms. Leger, has that matter been officially withdrawn?
Yes, we got an email from Mr. Haida Hughes saying that he was withdrawing the complaint against Supervisor Connie Chan. And I thought I had sent you a copy of that letter.
So the matter is withdrawn, so we will not be talking on that matter, just so you don't have to stay with us until the end.
Okay, thank you so much.
My apologies for interrupting.
All right, great. Okay, I believe that was the end of the respondent's statement. And is anyone that would like to speak in support of the respondent? Please raise your hands.
I do not see any hands raised for additional comment at this time.
All right. Okay. The matter is before us, committee members. Do you have any questions for either party or any discussion?
Thank you, Chair Hyland. I guess two questions. To Ms. McDonald, again, thank you for your persistence in your request. I know that the city and county looks to do their very best to make sure that we can that they file complete requests. My question to you is, in your last statement, you mentioned that you feel like that something is missing, and that things that were provided to you were procedural in nature. Would you maybe possibly have an example of something that you thought should be there, that you feel like could be missing? Is there anything that you could state to maybe go into a bit of detail of that so we can understand what you feel like is missing?
Sure, absolutely. I'm just trying to put this whole thing together here. A little bit of background is I'm a recovering addict. My daughter's been on the streets in San Francisco. I'm trying to get to the bottom of this this center. So I know that there's other communications. I have text messages between Marielle and Carol and Ben at the controller's office during this time that came in from another agency. I have emails between Adrian Bocelli at DEM that have gone back and forth. Victor Lim, I've got emails of his. So I'm just wondering, were theirs deleted because they fall within those, my parameters that came from DPH and the mayor's office and Public Works? So I'm just wondering if theirs were deleted and they don't have them anymore, or and if that's the case, say so. I'm okay with that, but I need to know that. But there are literally hundreds that I can provide. I didn't want to stack the file for you guys. I know how busy you are. There are literally hundreds of emails from Adrian at DEM, from Victor at DEM, from Marielle and Carol at DEM, between DPH and all the other agencies that were not provided to me otherwise, and if you want to know what I'm getting to the bottom of, basically, I want to know who knew what when in this whole thing, who knew when this consumption site was starting, and why wasn't the public informed that it was going to be a consumption site? And I need to know that. And I need to know that to make decisions going forward with what I'm going to do. So I appreciate your guys' help.
Thank you, Ms. McDonald. I empathize with your situation. To Mr. Lim, is it possible for you to respond to that detail?
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Yes. So we did a thorough search of both emails, communications, and text messages to following the narrow parameters that Ms. McDonald provided. Through our search, those are all the documents that are responsive as we instructed our staff to search their emails and also their text messages. And we currently adhere to all the city's policies and requirements, I should say requirements for records retention.
Thank you, Mr. Lim. I guess the question, and maybe Chair Hyland, other can help me out with this, is if Ms. McDonald had received, from another agency these documents. I'm assuming, and may be able to correct me, that emails and text messages are stored in the same place. But I don't want to go down that rabbit hole too much, Chair Hyland. But if there's any information that you could provide as to, what might the discrepancy might be, does DEH have a different system that they utilize? Because to me, it would seem like that they would be searching the same systems. So I just didn't know if anybody had any information on that.
Actually, I'm gonna turn that question around to Ms. McDonald. Did you submit the exact same request to other departments, and you got those departments' conversations about tenderloin linkage?
Absolutely.
Okay, but what you're asking for is Department of Emergency Management's conversations about linkage.
They are the only agency that has not provided exactly what I asked for in the parameters I asked for. Same parameters. So I'm just wondering if they were deleted, then they were deleted. But these documents exist. I have half of the conversation, right? The other half is DEM's, and I'm missing that.
Thank you for that. I think that's also what I'm trying to understand, that it sounds like to me that Ms. McDonald has, I'm also hearing a couple of things. So I just want to make sure I get this right, that Ms. McDonald had made the request, and in some of those responses from the other departments, there are emails or messages that include DEM as well. And so Ms. McDonald's just trying to piece that together. And it sounds like from what Mr. Lim is saying that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Lim, is that when you had specifically asked to narrow the request, that your response to Ms. McDonald was in response to a narrowed request. So it sounds like to me that maybe that the request that may have been made to the other departments that may have responded to the broader request, whereas in DEM's case, the work that was done to complete the request was a little bit narrowed. If you could help me out with that.
Yes, sir. So I can refer to page 1 of our written response in your packet, page 274, italicized, right? It says, quote, all electronic communications, including emails, text message, any messaging service or app used in communication regarding the Tenderloin Linkage Center and its fenced-in area. This is to include communications between all government and non-governmental agencies involved in the operation of the Linkage Center, including communications with nonprofit agencies, right? Kept any of the stylistic discrepancies. So anyway, so we responded. At 1:49 p.m. on March the 1st. And if you scroll down, we have a list of questions that goes to the next page. So we kindly asked, could you please specify a date range, right? Such as from December the 1st, 2021 to March the 1st, 2021, and to specific employees. So DEM is a department with more than 300 people. Our primary role is 911 dispatch, actually. And so 2/3 of our core staff are dispatchers. So I just wanted to make sure I don't inadvertently send a request out to all 300 plus people, because the folks that are working more specifically with the Tenderloin Linkage Center, we have several divisions, right? Is actually our Division of Emergency Services and the External Affairs Division, which is my own division that I belong to. And can the search be limited to only DEM executive leadership directly involved with the TLC work? And the reason why we asked that was because only a select number of staff that were primarily executive staff were assigned to it, because we had just come out from an 18th month response at the Moscone Center doing COVID response. And then right when that ended, we were receiving orders from a new declaration from the mayor to respond to the Tenderloin situation here. And then item 3, as you see, to specific government agencies, right? So like not it's to say emails from DEM to DPH, or is it emails from DEM with HSH, right? Because we do have more than 50 departments and agencies, and majority of them are not involved with the TLC work. And then to specific nonprofit agencies and organizations, additional specific key terms or phrases, right? She did kindly respond to us the following day at 4:15. If you look at in the asterisks that she responded to, so I think here's where it may be different from the scope that she submitted to the other departments, and we weren't privy to the information, right? So one, she agreed, Ms. McDonald agreed to limit it to December the 1st of last year to March the 2nd of this year, right? Second item, any employee, governmental or otherwise involved in the operation of the Tenderloin Linkage Center and adjacent fenced area. So that was clear. So we went and we made sure we reached out to all the staff members that were working directly at the Tenderloin Linkage Center. The next responses to include all DEM employees and leadership involved in the operation of the TLC and adjacent fenced area. So that's similar to the previous response, right? So we took that at the value, right? And so all governmental agencies involved in the operation of TLC, so that's good. So we knew there were specific departments directly involved. So we made sure when we did that, we included these departments, their full names, and also their acronym departments, like let's say DPH stands for Department of Public Health, HSH stands for Department of Homelessness and Supportive Housing, right? We also, and so all the non-profit agencies that she's mentioning, so that includes Code Tenderloin. We made sure that the words such as Urban Alchemy were involved. These were the different, some of the different nonprofits that were there providing services. And I think number 5 was the key, right? Ms. McDonald specified Tenderloin Linkage Center and enclosed fence area adjacent to the Tenderloin Linkage Center. So we made sure that the words Tenderloin Linkage Center and TLC in abbreviation, Tenderloin Linkage Site, we went as far as the site, because in the earlier iterations in mid-December, late December at the board, the terms for the TLC were slightly different and not codified yet. And of course, the enclosed and fenced areas adjacent to the TLC. So enclosed and then fenced area and the word adjacent was in our search query. And so in terms of the systems that you were mentioning, the systems that we use include Outlook email, right? It includes Teams. And then if it's on the phones, our department for the staff members involved, we have assigned department phones. So we would have searched all of our work phones that's dedicated for our work purposes. So I understand that some of Ms. McDonald's concerns is about the text message. And like I said, when we made sure that the instructions were sent out via email to all the involved parties in our department, it did instruct them to check the phones and the emails. And so what I'm saying is that what we're providing is what we have. And the way that we worded it in our responses, perhaps it was a little bit more of a, not the verbiage maybe some people are used to, but when we say we've completed everything and provided everything that we have in possession of the department, that is an acknowledgement of what we have and what we may not have. And also, like, and if I may, Mr. Hill, so I understand that Ms. McDonald felt it may not have been thorough, hence, well, and also we had sent an extension out there because some of our staff were at the TLC. It took some time to make sure to respond and to talk to them to explain what this request is. So we did give it on a rolling basis, and could have been sooner, right? But I'm glad that Ms. McDonald isn't dinging us for untimeliness. But unfortunately, we didn't have any responsive text messages that is to her request. So if that answers the question, Mr. Hill and the chair.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do I respond to that or no?
Let me ask you a question so you can respond to that. It sounds to me that, and first of all, let me say I'm very encouraged by the back and forth between the two of you. That's exactly how this process should work. Asking for clarity, asking for extensions, giving documents on a rolling basis. That's really, this is how it should look. So that's great. I'm a little bit troubled about the text messages piece. And I think Mr. Lim said that he asked employees to look at their employee phones and forward in information. But unfortunately, that statement came with emails. And I think many people may interpret that to be emails only. So I don't know if you specifically asked for all text and emails, all forms of communication, attachments, whatever to do with TLC that is on a work phone. That would have been a more comprehensive ask. But we'll get to that in a second. But Ms. McDonald, why don't you go ahead and respond to what we heard from Mr. Lim? I want to give you some equal time to talk. And in particular, if you can address what you think is still missing, this is you've got this information from other departments, and you seem satisfied with it. It seems like you still feel there is more from this department, and if you could talk more to that, that would help us in our deliberations.
Excuse me, Chair Hyland, is this rebuttals?
No, this is, Mr. Lim had a lot of time, so this is a question for Ms. McDonald to respond to that and do that, and then hopefully, rebuttals will be short and sweet after this exchange.
All right, so if you look through my clarification, every response I give is the exact same as my original request. The only thing that's different is he included, or they included, additional specific key terms or phrases. So yes, additionally to my request, I added those for them to help. I asked for all text messages, emails, any apps used for communication, such as WhatsApp and any apps used for communication between DEM and any other governmental department or nonprofit agency working with DEM. The ones I've received have included Code Tenderloin, they've included Health Right 360, they've included Urban Alchemy, and many are DEM emails and text messages. I'm just wondering why their search did not come up with it. It's the same exact request that I sent to other departments. And their timeliness was great. Their back and forth was great. I just think that the other side of the conversation is missing. I know that, there's talk in the other emails of, them setting up stuff to talk about. So, I mean, there's parts missing that are there. There cannot be only this between their interagency emails. Either they're deleted, which is fine, just tell me that, or redo the search, because I'm very clear in my request. And other departments easily found the responsive records.
Okay, Ms. McDonald, let me ask real quick. So you're saying that communications from DEM to, let's say, Department A, when you contact Department A, you got that communication from them. But that very same communication you're not getting from DEM.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, that's a little troubling, Mr. Lim. Would you like to talk to that specifically?
So we have made the search very thorough. To your earlier point, sir, the instructions were clear that it was all devices. So because she had mentioned text messages, so we did clarify with staff about that. That included cell phone devices. Okay. So we follow the city's retention policies and requirements. And so when we asked our staff to do a diligent and thorough search, that there was nothing with the parameters provided, and so if they don't have it, then they don't have it at the time. So I'm providing her what we had at the time, up to the date that March 1st, what we had retained.
Okay, let me stop you there. So if Ms. McDonald was going to send you a piece of information from Department A within that time parameter that clearly shows DEM communicating with Department A, but yet you haven't sent that same email thread, let's say, to her, that's a problem. And that puts into question how you guys do searches for any records request. Don't you think? Wouldn't you agree with that statement?
We follow all the parameters that she provided, and so.
But you're not understanding my question. If there's evidence of communication from DEM to Department A, B, C, or D, any of the 50 ones that you quote, that she's getting from the other side, why is it then that your searches have not produced those very same communications and documents? I can't put it more simply than that.
Sir, so when we did the search, we provided what we had in our email boxes and devices up to March the 1st.
Right, but other departments are providing emails that you guys clearly sent from your email boxes, your outboxes, that they received. So how could you not see that email from your end?
I would have to ask IT on that, but we don't. If they may have cleaned it out or whatnot.
There,
I can speak to their behalf.
Now we're getting to the crux of the matter. So when we send this to the full task force, we're going to request that you bring your IT guy with you, and I would recommend you do a full search of those dates and find out what happened to those emails. And I may even ask Ms. McDonald to send us and or you a couple of those communications that other departments received from DEM, so we have something to work with. Ms. McDonald, would you be able to provide that?
Absolutely. There's hundreds. So, I mean, I will send all that I have. I can actually just send you, if it would be easier to just send you the other requests I put in, and all of those documents are in the other requests that I put in.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Is she asking for the emails or the text messages? Because we don't have any text messages responsive, sir.
Okay, let me be very clear what I'm asking for. I asked for what is in my request. The other agencies complied to what's in the request. If those text messages are gone, they were deleted. If those emails are gone, they were deleted. That's it. I mean, I have them. That's it.
And Ms. McDonald, I think what we're saying here is that, whether it be DEM or whether it be DPH or whether it be HSH, it sounds like to me, and I'm not going to speak to text messages because it sounds like to me, and again, Ms. McDonald, Mr. Lynn, I'm still learning about, the systems and the mechanisms for recording records. It sounds like to me that maybe the way that folks get to text messages is more of a request, but I think that that what we're getting, something that we can really rely on is the city's records of email. It should be the same retention schedules no matter what department that you're in. sfgov.org is all going to be stored in the same place. And so I think that's something that we can hone in on, Ms. McDonald. If there are examples of, and again, I might need a little bit of help on this, but to what Mr. Lim says, he's making the request to someone who is providing a response to him, and that's what we want to get to the bottom of. We want to get to the bottom of is, if DPH made that request to IT or whoever to return those responses to you, that'll give us the opportunity to draw a comparison about the types of requests that were sent from the different departments to the group who's responsible for providing the responses as it relates specifically to email, because as I understand, like that's going to be queries that are made into the same system. To your point, Ms. McDonald, that should return a similar result. And so your assistance would be greatly appreciated. I don't believe that it has to be the full hundreds of emails, but if there are some obvious couple of examples that you can provide to us, what we will do is we can work to do our best to make sure that folks that represent the request that you made on maybe a successful request, that we can compare the query that was made to the folks who responded to that request for the email responses. That would give Mr. Lim and DEM an opportunity to respond in kind, and I'm sure that they would be happy to to do that investigative work for you as well. I appreciate the fact that you're looking at these with the lens that you're looking at it, and we need that. We need our citizens to do that. We would like to get to the bottom of this with you as well. And so if you can provide some obvious examples to us, that would actually help us in our quest to make sure that we get you what you're looking for.
Absolutely, not a problem.
Okay, so I think what we'll do is go to rebuttals now, just so you guys can say your last piece. But on the back of what Member Hill said, I would keep your communication open with Mr. Lim. Mr. Lim, I would pull in your IT guy now if I were you. If Ms. McDonald would like to send you, and Ms. McDonald, please CC our clerk on any communications you have with Mr. Lim so we're in the loop. But if you'd like to send them maybe 4 or 5 examples of what you got from other agencies that clearly show, messages, emails, whatnot, coming out of DEM to them and back and forth, that'd be a good start, because that's what we're going to get into. And, this ultimately might be discussion about your IT practices and your retention policy when it gets to the full task force. That's kind of where I think this is going to be headed. No pun on the word beheaded. Didn't mean to say that, but that's I think that direction this is going. And once again, I'm very encouraged by your communications and your back and forth, and I'll certainly make sure to mention that to the full task force when we get to that point. I think you're doing everything right, but there's something maybe off with the system, and that's more troubling to me. Anyhow, Ms. Leger, if you could do rebuttals. Mr. Lim, you'll get to go first for 3 minutes, and then Ms. McDonald will follow you for closing remarks.
Mr. Lim, are you ready?
Yes, I am ready.
Go ahead, sir.
Chair Hyland and Mr. Hill, thank you for your time, and thank you to Ms. McDonald for appearing today, and for allowing us to explain. We are open to definitely making sure that if it's any systemic or systematic issue, that we look further into this. And thank you for your suggestion about immediately, contacting our IT on this. We'll definitely do so. We want to make sure that we do a thorough search. We want to make sure, and we follow the transparency and openness to public records the public. We definitely agree to this, and we, I think we've also established that the DEM records request DEM at sfgov.org is the proper channel for communication. I'm glad that we did clarify that with Ms. McDonald, and we are on a good communications channel. If she has anything that she would like to follow up with us from now until the next hearing, feel free to just email us at any time. And in terms of following the records retention, in terms of the text messages and also with the emails, we are following all the requirements that's adhered to and established by the city. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Maybe I'll add to that just really quick, Mr. Lim. If with the knowledge that you have of some of the other departments who had completed the request, particularly for email responses, in Ms. McDonald's view, in a different way, maybe as a part of that request, you could have the person who followed through with your request for the email responses to reach out to their colleague that had responded in kind. If there's probably someone else or someone who had responded in kind from one of the other departments, just to make sure that those requests were aligned. That might also open up. That might also discover some things for us as well. We appreciate that.
And for sure. And then I think from the packet that for many of the documents that Ms. McDonald has submitted so far, that's already providing us some insight on how we should follow up and look into these emails, because we then can specifically search for those titles or keywords or let's say sentences or paragraphs in the search query to see if that shows up or comes up on the specific staff members that she's interested in obtaining a potential copy of documents. As we said, I think at the time with the narrowed search, I think that may have been the difference. I'm not sure if the key terms and how we search for it and the time frame may have made a difference. Probably not the time frame, but maybe we were very specific to the letter of the word. But I would definitely give the benefit of the doubt that there may still be something out there. We're willing to look into it further in cooperation with you, with both of you, Chair Hyland and Mr. Hill, to make sure that we try to provide everything we can to Ms. McDonald.
Thank you. It'd be wonderful when we take this to the full board if both Ms. McDonald and you, Mr. Lim, could successfully say that the results align much better. But I appreciate any work that could be done prior to that, prior to the hearing at the full board.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Ms. McDonald, are you ready to speak?
I am. Okay, so I appreciate all that they have given me. I think it's great. The procedural documents are wonderful. I don't want them to get stuck on the additional specific key terms. That was something they asked. That is not in my specific request. That was something they asked. If they want to use that, that's fine. But my specific request was very clear. And there are, and they don't need, I know there's 300 staff members, they said, majority 911 dispatch. I am only asking for Tenderloin Leakage Center and the adjacent fenced-in area. There's not 300 staff members that are handling that. I mean, I know them specifically by name from the other emails. So, it must be the way they're searching or something, but the emails are out there. I will provide some examples for you. And I mean, I didn't receive one email from one of the head people, as Adrienne Bocelli, I think is her last name. I received nothing from her. And there's obviously emails out there from her. So I need those. I think that a more specific request, just following my request would be wonderful. Also, I don't know who provided the records to me, what IT member. I received them through Next Request. I followed the steps through Next Request, so I don't know who provided them. So that would be up to Mr. Lim to find out who did that work. And thank you guys very much I look forward to, working on this together and getting it handled. I'm not trying to do a gotcha here. I'm just trying to understand what's going on.
I believe both you and I believe also Mr. Lim. And it sounds like that we just have a little bit more work to do.
Right. And Mr. Lim, it might not hurt to send the actual search strings that you used, in your searches. And Ms. McDonald, I don't know if you're able to get the search strings from the other departments that they used. It might be simple semantics. I mean, it could come down to that. But this goes to the crux of writing good search strings to elicit the necessary results. So it might be as simple as that. Although I am convinced by Mr. Lim's discussion and the back and forth and the cutting and the parsing and whatnot that I think they got what you were asking in several different ways. Yet I'm still troubled as to why it didn't return the results that it should have. So that's what this is all about. So I would encourage you, Mr. Lim, to keep searching. Get an IT guy on this. Go back to the original search strings. Try a couple of different things, and anything that you can produce between now and the full task force meeting is only to your credit. I think the system is working, but it just needs a little fine tuning.
I have a quick question. Who
Yes,
do I provide the follow-up documentation to?
So please send it to Mr. Lim, but CC us.
Okay.
So, and CC us, Ms. Leger, on everything, all your communications. That way it goes into the public record.
Thank you.
That way we have a copy of it. But you can say, I got these 5 documents from these departments. Here are the search strings they used. And here's where it shows DEM sending these emails to these departments. And then Mr. Lim will look at that and say, okay, we went back, so that whole conversation will go into the record before the full task force. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay. Member Hill, would you like to propose a motion?
Yes, Chair Hyland. Actually, I just want to stress this to Mr. Lim, that part of the request, if you could please help us in speaking with the person who responded to your IT request to see if there is a colleague on their side. It's off the back of what Mr. Hyland said, what Chair Hyland said, that if they can provide the query to you of what they did the email search for, and the colleague in the other department could also do that, we'll probably get to the bottom of this pretty quickly. So I would just stress that. And I will make a motion to refer this to the full board.
Okay, and find jurisdiction and the records are public.
I'm sorry, Madam Clerk.
Are you moving to that there is jurisdiction, the records are public, and to forward to the task force?
You read my mind. Yes, ma'am. That is my motion.
Hi, this is Victor again. If there's anybody listening who would like to provide public comment on this matter, you can press *3 to raise your hand, or press the raise your hand symbol on your computer or application at this time if you would like to make public comment.
And let me second that motion because I didn't hear she seconded.
Yes.
And Member Hill, yeah, typically what we do is we find jurisdiction and the records are public, and then we make a recommendation to the full task force. So that was what Mr. Leger was referring to. So yes, I think we've got it all correct now. All right.
Okay. There have been no additional hand raising, so I don't believe there's any public comment on this matter.
All right. Take a roll.
Member Hill?
Aye.
Member Hill, aye. Chair Hyland?
Aye.
Chair Hyland, aye. Moved by Member Hill, seconded by Chair Hyland to find that the records are public. There is jurisdiction and forward the matter to the full task force.
Thank you very much.
Your first motion.
You
Okay.
did well.
Thank you.
Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And Ms. McDonald, thank you.
Chair Hyland, are we ready for the next item?
Yes, please.
Item number 7, file number 22052, complaint filed by Lee Hughes against Megan Bourne and the Fine Arts Museum for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 6725 by failing to respond to an immediate disclosure request in a timely and complete manner.
Hi, this is Victor. I believe that I have made the relevant people panelists. If you are a member or a party to this matter, you can raise your hand at this time. Well, everyone in the meeting has their control of their own microphones now, so you can proceed as you like.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you. Please wait for the chair to proceed with the meeting.
All right. And Mr. Hydehouse, is it Hughes? How do you pronounce it?
Hyde Hughes.
One more time?
Hyde Hughes.
Hyde Hughes. Okay, I was close.
You can call me Lee. That's easier.
All right. I might take a stab at it a few more times. But, all right. Just wait for Mr. Leger to give you your 5 minutes. Then you can start your presentation.
Mr. Hyde Hughes, are you ready to begin?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
Can I put myself on the camera, or the public can't do this?
Yes, you can.
So I start video, or how does this work?
You just need to turn on your camera.
And it should be on. I have a webcam. So
Press the start video button.
Is there something I'm missing?
Did you press the start video button?
Okay.
It's next to the mute button.
Okay. Are we good? Yes.
All right. Got it.
Okay. So let me start. And here I am. I will make this fairly straightforward, a little foundation here. This is not my first time at the Rodeo for records requests. I do them professionally and personally, and have done a lot of them over the last 15 or so years with DBI, planning, police department, jurisdictions outside San Francisco. So we'll get into this. I spent a lot of time in the last year on what is now the JFK Promenade in Golden Gate Park. I did a records request, immediate disclosure request, first with Supervisor Chan, because she was involved in this activity, and I received a lot of documentation. There were some sort of snowflakes, but none of them were really responsive. So then I also filed an immediate disclosure request with the Fine Arts Museum through Megan Bourne, who's the custodian, and having not received what I feel is a responsive request, I amended the immediate disclosure request. All of that is in the file. And even the response that I received basically says there's no documentation, and Megan cited to the basically nonprofit 501c status, which the Fine Arts Museum shares or has. So that is why I filed the request with the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force, or the complaint, if you will. If one goes to the Ethics Commission, they will see that between March 2021 and March this year, there were 14 reported meetings between Supervisor Chan and her office and the Fine Arts Museum and Platinum Advisors, the lobbyist. So I asked for all the communication regarding their activity around JFK Promenade, but I specifically have honed in on the 14 meetings which appear recorded or is documented on the Ethics Commission website, and they were included in both my original request and in the amended request. The only responsive documents that I received from the Fine Arts Museum was a record of a meeting that that Connie Chan, Thomas Campbell, the CEO, and Shaman Walton, president of the Board of Supervisors, we're attempting to set up in March 2021. Beyond that, even though, again, there were 14 meetings, there is no documentation. Interestingly enough, from Supervisor Chan, I received screenshots of 2 phone calls, one of which was from Supervisor Chan to Thomas Campbell's office to Platinum Advisors, Ryan Blake, in July last year, trying to set up a meeting with Thomas Campbell. The second screenshot that I received was from early April this year when Supervisor Chan introduced her ordinance at the Board of Supervisors, and immediately that same day, again, Ryan Blake from Platinum Advisors, the lobbyist for Fine Arts Museum, called Supervisor Chan to talk to her about this ordinance. So those 2 screenshots in of themselves told me that there must be documentation in the files of the Fine Arts Museum about what happened, what transpired, what the action plans are between Fine Arts Museum and Connie Chan as a member of the Board of Supervisors. And that is the genesis of my complaint with the task force to seek this documentation. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Hadehouse. Is anybody here in support of the petitioner? I don't see any hands up.
There are no other members of the public with us today. Everybody else is active participant.
Okay. All right. Ms. Leger, when you're ready, let Ms. Bourne know when you're ready to have her begin her piece.
Ms. Bourne, are you ready to begin?
Yes, I'm trying to enable my camera on my phone. So let's see if this works.
You're doing the extra challenge by doing this on your phone?
Yes. I started out on my phone and I tried to move to my laptop, and now let's see if this works. Start my video. It does not seem to be working.
It's
there we
working.
go. There we go.
We see.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi.
Ms.
Good evening.
Are you ready to begin your statement, Ms. Bourne?
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Leger.
Go ahead.
Hi. Oops. There. So good evening, Chair Hyland, and a good evening, Mr. Hill. It's nice to meet you. So the Fine Arts Museums did respond and provided all the responsive documents that we had for his request by the deadline of Monday, April 18th. We see his request requested electronic correspondence, including any transmissions routed through the SF.gov account, and SF. The Fine Arts Museums of San Francisco is a city agency, and the Corporation of the Fine Arts Museums of San Francisco is a private 501c3 corporation. So there are no there are a few responsive records from FAMSF, and the records that we provided were mostly either correspondence or calendar invitations from Tom Campbell, who is the director of the Fine Arts Museums. And as I think Chair Hyland knows this, but Mr. Hill, I don't know if you're aware of this since you're new to the task force, but the Fine Arts Museums of San Francisco actually has very few administrative employees. Most of the city employees are security guards, engineers, admission attendants, and a small number of registrars, a couple of curators. So we provided the responsive records that we found between Tom Campbell as the director, city employee and director of the museums to Mr. Heidi Hughes.
Does that conclude your statement, Ms. Bourne?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. And is anybody here in support of the respondent, Ms. Bourne?
We have no additional callers with us at this time.
All right. Okay. The matter is before us. And I had one quick question, Mr. Hadehouse. You withdrew your request of Supervisor Chan, and just because the last case we had, I'm wondering, did you get documents from Ms. Chan's office that satisfied your request, therefore you closed it, and those same records you did not get from this party?
Would you like the honest answer or the polite answer?
If everything could be so simple, that'll be the same as the last case. But go ahead and give me whichever answer you feel is best.
The honest one.
All right.
Yes, I went at Connie Chan for her support to keep cars on JFK Promenade. I don't like it. I was really upset. And so my records request was part of that. I received a lot of documentation from her. Most of it was unresponsive, though there were a few tidbits like the screenshots that I just mentioned. But I dropped the complaint against her because I want to put this behind us. She's my supervisor. She has plenty on her plate now. She's getting beat up mercilessly on social media for her stances around the recall of which she is opposed against a district attorney. Plus, she is subject to a lot what I would call racist and misogynist attacks. I don't like it. And so basically, I decided to let this go. And that is why I dropped the complaint. Now, as far as the Fine Arts Museum goes, I want to, if I may, go back to my original complaint, which I submitted on April 8th. And it's in the record because when Cheryl sent all the attachments, it's there. I included people in the Fine Arts Museum. I am requesting all communications between Supervisor Chan, her legislative staff, and Fine Arts Museum staff, including but not limited to Thomas Campbell, Dee Dee Wilsey, Megan Bourne, Aria Dia, Karen Berniker, Sheila Presley, Jason Moment, and David Fraze. I said including but not limited to, and I received nothing. In addition, Megan is telling me about emails on the San Francisco government website. If you go down to paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it says electronic correspondence includes any transmissions routed through the SF.gov account or any personal email account of any individual, entity, or organization. So it was not a narrowly focused request to SF.gov sites. It was all world, and it mentioned a number of people who work and are employees and or trustees or associated with the Fine Arts Museum. That
Okay.
is
And
why
this is on page
my complaint.
330 of our packet. Yeah, just for. Okay, I see that. Okay. And then I have a question from Ms. Bourne. Ms. Bourne, would you like to respond to that particular paragraph? I think those people he listed, are any of those or all of those quote unquote FAMSF employees?
Tom Campbell is the only FAMSF employee. The other staff members listed, myself, Paria, Karen Berniker, Sheila Presley, are COFAM employees. And Jason Moment and David Fraze are trustees, and Dee Dee Wilsey's a trustee emerita. But there was no, we asked them if they had any correspondence, and there was none.
Okay. And I seem to remember, in our past case, when we had the different silos and we went round and round and round about all that. I'm trying to recall exactly what we decided on COFAM and the relationships you have with them and how much was disclosable. But I think we ruled that a lot of it is disclosable. So are you saying that there are communications and documents, but you're not disclosing them because you don't have to, or are you saying that there are no documents or communications?
I'm saying that there are no documents or communications other than what we provided on behalf of FAM-SF. COFAM does have records.
Okay, so Tom Campbell falls under FAM-SF, but no one else does.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
May I say something?
Mr. Hoodhouse, yeah, go ahead.
In the fourth paragraph, again, you have it in front of you. So if you read it, you will see all the agencies that I included. And FAM-SF, the Corporation of the Fine Arts Museums, is included as one of the parties from whom I am seeking responsive documents. It was, again, it wasn't limited to Fine Arts Museum. It was the both of them.
I understand. I see that there. Yeah. And I don't know if you're aware, but we had a pretty extensive case which involved FAM-SF, COFAM, and one other organization, and we went round and round and round. And I have to go back and research and look at our ODs and what was written as to what we determined as to what is disclosable and what's not, because it is a strange structure that they have as to how they're set up.
Yes.
And the responsibilities therein, and that's really at the crux of this matter. So we're right back at that point again.
Are you looking at the decision of September 4, 2019, Robert Smith versus Fine Arts Museums? And in that case, he prevailed.
Yes, and I seem to remember that, and I think we ruled in his favor for these other entities to reveal the documents. Ms. Bourne, is that your recollection?
My recollection was that the city attorney's office was asked to basically render an opinion, and I need to go back and check, but I don't believe that. I think an opinion may have been shared with the task force, but not with the museum.
Interesting. So are you saying that the district attorney gave you guys an opinion or gave us an opinion?
The city attorney,
right.
I believe the city attorney gave you an opinion in one of the hearings.
And we probably made our order determination based on that. Okay.
I was going to ask Chair Highland if just because that the information came by me so quickly, and by the way, I was trained by Chairman Yankee about situations like this prior to today. So I am very interested in investigating that order determination. Is that something that's readily available?
Yes,
I'm
Mr.
looking on the website right now.
Could you
It's
repeat
right
that
here.
for us?
I have it.
It's 2019.
What is the file number again, please?
19058.
Thank you.
There it is. I see
Robert
it.
M. Smith. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. Just give us a minute to take a look at that, if you would.
Go to
Member
the
Hill, do you need me to send you a copy of that? I was just asking Member Hill if he needed me to send a copy of
I
ordinance.
have it in front of me. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
we're,
you.
we're online. We're taking a look at it. And Ms. Bourne, you may want to take a look at this too. If you go to our orders of termination on our web, well, you're on your phone, but if you're on your laptop, orders of termination file 19058. If you click by year, 2019, it'll pop up in front of you.
I do have my laptop open here. I was trying to access the meeting that way too, so let me see.
They are published, Ms. Bourne. After they're drafted, they are published.
Yes, I did just find it on our website.
Yeah, I'd have to go and do some more research on the actual minutes of the meetings. But here's one paragraph that's interesting. The SOTF requests the city attorney provide advice regarding relationship of the corporation and the Foundation of the Fine Arts Museum as being separate entities pursuant to Sunshine Ordinance, Administrative Code 12L nonprofits, and Government Code Section 6252 and 54952. But we did rule in favor of Mr. Smith, Ms. Bourne. So I've got a feeling this is going to go the same way for you, just based on a quick look at this. So my instinct here would probably be to forward this to the full task force and have them in particular look at this OD. But in the meantime, if there's anything else that you would be willing to turn over to Mr. Hatehouse, that probably would stand you in good stead. But we need to do, I think, a deeper look into this, and that's not what we're here to do today. We're just here to determine that it is falls within our domain, public documentation, and the full task force will need to once again dive into the nitty gritty and the nuances of this and your relationship with the other bodies.
Chairman, may I?
Yes, Member Hill.
To Ms. Bourne, it's just a very quick question because it does look like that you were a part of that experience before, and I know that it doesn't take long for me to realize that there could be some potential gray area here. So I was wondering maybe if you could maybe provide some any information that that have occurred before to help us inform this. And part of the reason why I'm asking this is because, as someone had mentioned before, our slate is quite overwhelming at the moment, and so anything that you could help provide me at this point, so just historical reference as to what your stance is between why the nonprofit that's associated with FAM in your opinion would not fall into this category. I would appreciate that perspective.
Okay. Oh, are you asking me to do that now, or to provide this in a document or in an email?
If just a quick explanation now, I would appreciate that.
Okay. Well, so the Fine Arts Museums of San Francisco, FAM, the city agency, is it's a what is it? A charitable trust department under the city administrative code, and I would say basically the purview of the Fine Arts Museums of San Francisco is that the city owns the building, and the city owns much of the collections in that are held, the works of art that are held in the museum. And that has actually, the Corporation of the Fine Arts Museums built the museum and gifted it to the city, and that the Fine Arts Museums Foundation when it acquires works of art by gift or purchase, in turn gifts those works of art to the city, with some very rare exceptions. And then over the years, at one point the city basically funded all the complete operation of the museums, but over the years, cities didn't have the funds to fund museums in that way. So the Corporation of the Fine Arts Museums was formed in 1987, and it effectively is the operating company, I would say. It all of the all but one or two of the curatorial staff, all the conservation staff, all of the marketing and development and IT staff are employees of the Corporation of the Fine Arts Museums.
Which is privately funded? Is that what is that the crux of why we're having this conversation?
Correct, basically.
Okay,
in a nutshell. we could
right.
yeah. Yes.
Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you. And then just to Mr. Hyde Hughes, maybe if you could, I assume that you may have a different perspective on that, and so I was just curious, in the spirit of helping inform us, so that we maybe can provide this information to the board, to the full task force prior to hearing the full board. Would love to hear your response to Ms. Bourne's comments.
Sure. I mean, I'm a layperson, a legal worker. I do research. In my mind, just looking at it from flying high, the Fine Arts Museum, the corporation are ultimately all part of the same entity. That is why, at least hopefully, I was looking at it forward enough to include both the corporation and the Fine Arts Museum in the records request. I mean, ultimately, it will be up to someone in your shop to determine who is a responsive agency and who is not. And at this point, I'll leave it at that.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. It does seem like it will go to the full board, and that there will probably be a legal opinion that will be asked for in that matter. It does feel great, but I appreciate both of your comments on that, and that's what I was looking for. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Yes, you definitely asked the right person for that summary. That was good to hear that again. Why don't we do rebuttals, and then we can package this up to be heard by the full task force. So, Ms. Bourne, you get to go first for 3 minutes. Wait till Ms. Leger gives you the green light, please.
Ms. Bourne, are you ready to begin?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
So the Fine Arts Museums of San Francisco maintains that it has provided responsive records to the request. And further, in response to the discussion in the course of this evening, we state that the Fine Arts Museums of San Francisco is the city agency, and that the Corporation of the Fine Arts Museums is a private 501c3 corporation, and under the requirements for the disclosure of public records, we believe that we have provided all responsive records. And we thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Mr. Hyde Hughes, are you ready?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
At this juncture, I have nothing to add. I mean, I think that the original request, the amended request, and the responses from the Fine Arts Museum have set forth, what the issues are. And now I think if the group decides to move it along, that would be the appropriate place to deal with it at the next level. And I'm finished.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Mr. Hill, your second motion, perhaps.
Let me see if I can get this right this time. So I'd like to make a motion that this request does fall within the jurisdiction of the full task force, that these are a matter of public record, and that we refer this to the full board. Did I get it right?
Yep.
Very good. I will second that second motion.
Thank you very much, and thank you for you both for providing that additional information for me. It's very helpful.
All right. Let's have some public comment on that motion.
There are no other members of the public with us today.
All right. Public comment is closed. Let's have a vote on that. And while Cheryl's doing that, thank you both parties for being here. And we will see you again soon.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good night.
Member Hill?
Aye.
Member Hill, aye. Chair Hyland?
Aye.
Chair Hyland, aye. Moved by Member Hill, seconded by Chair Hyland, to find that there is jurisdiction, the records are public, and refers the matter to the full task force.
Good.
Okay. Are you ready for the next item?
Yes, please.
Item number 9, announcements, comments, questions, and future agenda items by members of the Education Outreach and Training Committee.
Cheryl, before we do that, in that last item, please make sure to refer to our OD.
Well, I think he had 2 of them. He had like 2 cases. So do we want all 3? Or we want all of them?
You know what? Well, 19058 is definitely one of them, because that dives into the whole city attorney advice piece. I wonder if there was a second one.
I think he had 2 or 3.
Yeah, let me see. Robert Smith. I see only one in 2019. Let me take a look at 2020. Nope. I don't think it was 21.
Could have been 18.
Yeah, I'm going to check 18 right now. Yes, I see one on 18.
18049.
Yes, there you go. Very good. I think between those two, yeah, please refer those to. Yeah, so the instruction to the full task force should read something like, please refer to ODs 18049, 19058, and associated meeting minutes, because there's a lot of information and city attorney memos in those minutes.
Are we sure that those city attorney memos were not?
We're not. That's why they have to go and read them and see what's appropriate to mention or not. But I'm pretty sure everything was in the public domain. Both, or what was admissible was admitted then. But they should read both the ODs and the associated meeting minutes. that resulted in those ODs, or that led to those ODs, I should say. So put that as an instruction to the full task force, please, because that will help us get right to the crux of the matter quickly.
And Chair Holly, just as a matter of a conversation on this, that I do know that the Federal Freedom of Information Act does have some language in here that does discuss whether nonprofits are subject to the Freedom of Information Act, and most of it has to do with whether they receive any form of public funding.
Right, and there's a dollar limit on that throws them into that threshold. Exactly. So I think all of that was covered in those two cases, and it really that's what it all came down to. So we definitely need to
pull this
on all that. Yeah, exactly. Do our homework before we hear this one as a full task force. But I think I'm happy that we got to the crux of the matter, and that should inform our discussion.
Has anybody spoken with Mr. Smith? Because I know towards the end of his cases, he had to hire a couple of journal students, and I didn't know if there was anything. I don't recall there being anything beyond that.
No, I have no information on that. But basically, we just need to look at the precedents that we set back then in 18 and 19, and use that, I think, going forward.
Okay.
To inform our decision. Yeah.
This is very interesting because Chair Yankee did actually, because when I spoke to him about things to look out for, this was actually the thing that he said I should look out for. So,
right, and this is the thing. We're still trying to build our database of institutional knowledge, if you like, but it's going to be people like myself and Chair Yankee that says, oh, I remember this case, and then we have to go back and dig and find something. So that's what we're doing. Exactly. Good. Well, I'm glad he was on it. I think he was just starting when all this was happening, if I'm not mistaken. That sounds about right. Yeah.
He's got a mind like a steel trap.
And he brought it up right away.
He does.
Yes.
All right. Okay. I think we got the instructions there, Cheryl. You got all that?
Yeah, I highlighted it, so I know what to do. I'm going to stick it in the file when I go into work on Thursday.
Perfect. Wonderful. All right. Okay. So we're now on item 9, announcements, comments, questions, future agenda items, blah, blah, blah. Anything for the good of the cause?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. The only thing I would say, and Cheryl, help us help you. Like that first case that we heard with Ms. Morawski. Sometimes when you send me agenda items, I don't actually have the material before me. If you'd sent me that, I could have opened it up, looked at it, and said, you know what, this is a non sequitur. There's 2 different pieces here. We could have cleaned that up, right? We can catch stuff like that for you as well. So try and send me active links if you can do that, of what you've actually attached to the agenda. Because all I see is an agenda with a description, but I don't see the meat of the case. That's why I push back on the other items that we don't have tonight, because I wanted to see the details. Because our time is valuable.
Okay. Well,
that would help. Yeah.
Okay, I can do that. Many times there is an abundance of materials, like 50 or 60 separate records.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing I want to see is, I really want to see that original complaint, whether it's on next request, whether it was an email. That's what I want to look at, because that really directs our efforts and our parameters of what we can do. So if I can at least just see that'll really help.
Would you want to see it like before the Google form? I mean, because I was told.
Actually, if you don't mind me stepping in a bit.
Sure.
In terms of the agenda, when Cheryl does link all the attachments to that agenda, 2 or 3 days before, when she submits the agenda to the general public, all the supporting documents are linked to it. All you do is click on the title and it pops up.
Right, but when she sends me the draft agenda the week before.
Oh, the draft, that's a different issue.
Yeah.
That would be preemptive work. We can give it to you in the native format because we haven't sorted it yet at that point in time.
Okay. Well, I would like the sorted version given to me before it's released to the public, just to make sure when it does go out, it's correct, rather than what we had tonight, which took us 45 minutes to unravel, you know?
Yes, and if you do note, I did write into that first item, I did try to get to that point of view in my administrator's review, where I says it was sent to, it may have been sent to the wrong person. I did write that in my initial review of the file, and I guess no one caught on after I wrote that.
Write more forcefully. Yeah, because I typically go straight into the I'll just go straight to the actual complaint. That's what I want to look at.
Yeah, us as staff should have followed up on that when they didn't respond to that, because they never gave us the original request for records for that first item.
Yeah.
Us as staff should be a little bit more forceful in following up.
Okay. All right.
If I may, one of the things I'm noticing here is it's the form, the complaint form, that we have on the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force. I can see that it's the Google form. I can see that what is listed in this in the packet on that first page that has Cheryl BOS Google form is exactly the response of what's on the form, and I am sure that Ms. Morawski had put on in that form that the complaint was for the Department of Public Health, and the individual was Ann Quaintance, CEO of Connor Mental Health. And if you look on the form online, like that, it essentially gives her every opportunity to essentially to hang herself, so to speak, because that's exactly what it is. And so I guess my question is, when the complaint form comes in from the website, I'm assuming that it goes to someone, and that someone would try to start the investigation process. And so I think that kind of like it
doesn't go to someone, it comes to me.
Okay, so you're the someone. And it looks like you followed it up by like sending it to the person that they were asking the request for, not the department, but for the individual, and that individual responded.
I would like to caution us talking about any case without the parties present.
Thank you for that. I'm actually gonna we'll talk about this, and I'd like to make a general comment when we get to comments.
Okay, yeah. If you just
call that a matter.
Yeah, if you just keep the nature of the discussion general, that's fine. So let me ask this, Victor. You might have to answer this. So I clicked on the complaint form on our website, right? And like Member Hill said, it's department name of the contact with them. Yeah, okay. You would think it'd be the same person.
The nature of the Google form is problematic because it's not as detailed as we would want it to be. And we have to follow up after they submit that. We have to follow up with them and pretty much give them our regular complaint form because there's not enough information on that Google form.
That is, yeah. I didn't mean to bring up the specific case, but the comment and the general comment that I wanted to make was exactly that, Victor. That it, just in the 2 meetings that I've been a part of, the incoming, the myriad forms of ways that folks can submit a request, just in my small perspective that I have so far, it does seem confusing at best for a citizen. Do I go to the Sunshine Task Force, and is this enough when I put this information in the form? Do I use next request? Did I go? Do I make the request at DEH? Do I make the request to the individual? Do I make the request to whatever?
I can probably help you with that. I do get a lot of calls from people who want to know where to begin. And they say, they have a problem with the department. It's not necessarily because of a formal request for records. They're just trying to get some information. And so I try to direct them to the custodian if I have that person's information. And we do maintain a list of departments that we work with, a list of custodian of record. We have their names, we have the department name, we have their email, we have their telephone number, we have their assistant's name. We may have other people within the department who can help with providing records for a person. So when they get started, I do tell them where to go, and I do tell them about next request. And there are people like David Steinberg who really are on top of it and work very, very hard. He's a custodian for Public Works. And I have to say, for the most part, the people that I work with regularly are consistently willing to provide whatever records are requested. There are challenges to that. Sometimes they get a petitioner who says, no, I didn't get anything and my response wasn't timely. Maybe that's true sometimes. But more often than not, there's a reason for it. So I do that in my job.
Let me ask a quick question, Victor and Cheryl, to you both. So actually, several parts to this question. What I saw online, that's, I know our intake form is evolving, right? But it's not fully on, right? This is like a shortened version of it. Is that correct? The one that Member Stein and Member Neighbors are working so hard on, that's not fully live yet, is it?
It's ready to go, and it is a Google form, and it's ready to go when we want to include it in the website.
Okay, but we haven't yet fully voted on it and adopted it. Is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Okay, and that link is going to go right where we're looking right now. So that's going to...
Right, it's going to be a new document.
Great, okay. That's the first question. Second one is, when these records requesters go to, let's say, Department of Emergency Management or DPH, we don't really know what their button looks like. Or does it generate this same next request Google form? Is it the same thing?
We are the only one who use our form. Every department is different.
Wonderful. So every department has its own version of the wheel. Okay, that's, it'd be nice eventually if we could get all departments to adopt what we're working so hard on for ourselves. Both because I know we're working on a responders template as well, aren't we? And Cheryl, you're probably going to tell me that's not live yet either, right?
Well, I couldn't talk to Lori about it when we first were scheduled. And then when it went to committee, Lori had to go offline when it was to be heard last month of the task force.
I remember
that. I have sent her an email and said, we need to discuss this week so we can be prepared for the June 1st hearing. I think the two of us just need an hour and a half to just talk about what her goals are, what I've seen. I can give her examples of letters and we can discuss it so that we know what we're going to say before we go before the task force and give everybody a synopsis of what I've received. And I provided, as you saw, a chart and the actual document that goes to each, not only petitioner, but to the respondent.
Right.
It goes to everybody. And the other thing that goes to everybody is, and now that we are doing affirmation letters, is an affirmation letter that they can address also and use that as a guide to say whether, oh yes, we can see that we weren't timely, or no, we're going to fight this tooth and nail. And so that's their opportunity to give us an idea about how they really see this as how it was perceived, so that we don't go into a committee meeting and not really know what what their synopsis is either.
Right. Yeah. In an ideal world, we'll have that suggested responders template adopted by different departments so that all the information is collated correctly and funnels to the right person, that would be wonderful, but who knows if we'll ever get there. So back to my original request, Cheryl, I'd like to see either the email or the next request that the petitioner sent to the department for the original records request. I don't particularly want to see our intake form. I mean, I don't mind seeing that in addition, but I really want to see the original request to the department from the individual, and that's, you know, and make sure that's checked on the cover sheet of every packet, every you know, file item. It almost always is, but sometimes we don't have that, and we really have to then go back and, you know, we really can't move forward without that, because every question comes back to that. You know, that's the parameters in which we work. So when you send me, you know, agenda items, send me maybe as a separate attachment just that. That'll really help me. I don't need everything else, and if I need it, I'll ask for it. But if I can at least have that, I'll know that at least we have enough for it to go before committee that it's ready to be unpacked and sent to the full task force. That'd be great.
Okay, I've written it down.
All right, that's it for me.
Member Hill, do you have anything else you want to add?
I'll tidy up what I just said here in this sort of general way. When I first started, you know, of course, like becoming interested, I went to Google and I did a search for the keyword was San Francisco Public Records Request Form, and the first which is, and the reason why I did that is because that's what probably any typical citizen would do. The first link takes me to a form that says it's a public records request form, request for public records, and it's not a Google form. It says to facilitate the effort to inspect, copy. I'm actually, if it's okay, I'm gonna actually copy and paste this in the chat. And just the reason.
We can't use chats officially as part of the meeting.
Okay, sfgov.org/sunshine/public-records-request-form. That's what it took me to. It appears to be maybe an old manual form because it says cost of copies is 10 cents per page, 20 cents per page for two-sided copies, except for mass-produced records for agenda items for policy body meetings. Postage costs are additional. So I just wanted to bring that up because it leads to, I feel like what I'm hoping that I can help do is like, you know, over time is we can help the task force by eliminating as much confusion as possible from citizen requests that come in that end up getting sort of mixed up. And that's just one of the things that I noticed was that the very first Google response to a very common search for San Francisco Public Records request form, I think takes us to a page that probably shouldn't be there anymore, if I understand it correctly. It might be something that isn't linked to the main page, but the page is still live. And so that's actually what that's the only thing I wanted to bring up, is that it could just be something as simple as investigating that page and just making sure that it isn't just not linked, but that it's actually taken down. So that way it doesn't, it's just, you know, one request and probably, you know, a sea of things that we'll be working on together over the course of you know, as we try to you know, make ourselves and make the information that we get from citizens a little bit more concise. That was the only thing I wanted to bring up. If someone could help out with just taking that form down, that would be great. And am I in with it? Is this the right time to make that? To make a request like
could
that?
you repeat that web address again? I just want to see
Yeah,
whose department it
absolutely.
goes to.
It's
We just need to be
sfgov.
careful not to go beyond our scope of
I understand. Yeah.
Okay.
sfgov.org/sunshine/public-records-request-form.
Yikes.
If it's on our website, I can take it down now.
The /sunshine is probably a good indicator, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'll look into that.
All right. Thank you.
But yeah. Oh, I can just do a quick search.
Yeah, it's a Google San Francisco Public Records Request Form.
I'm just searching on our Sunshine website, and I'm just looking for a request form, and it's not popping up. Well, you have stated that web address. I will take a closer look tomorrow, see if I can find it myself, and if not, I'll give you a call.
Sounds good. Thank you, Victor. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's
But that's just our website. Usually, if anybody's looking for a public request form, they should be doing it on the department's website that they want the forms from.
Right.
Because everyone handles it differently. Some of them use Nix request. Some of them has a specific email address. Everybody has so many different ways to do it that I can't name them.
No, I understand.
If it's on the Sunshine website, I do want to make sure that ours is right. I think we probably give people a sample and maybe not an actual request form, but maybe we're giving them a sample of what it should look like. But
yeah, I wasn't sure. I couldn't. Okay, yeah, that sounds good. I appreciate it. I just wanted to draw attention to it. It actually looks like if you go to the sfgov.org and you do a public records request, and I just typed in public records request form, it also is the first. It's the first search result that comes up when you just say the words public records request form. But it wasn't something that I found like actually on our site, and that's what made me question it. Like maybe it was replaced but not taken down, because I know that can happen sometimes. Yeah.
Okay, it's a generic form that they could send this to any department, and we should rethink this. Because it's just kind of a generic form that they can use to send to any department on how to do it. It's kind of a how-to form.
Got it. First is the Google form.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they can charge 10 cents per page. It is allowable. We do charge that usually. We have some people who will make requests for everything and they never pick it up. So we do have a cost, $1 for a CD. Happy to email it to you or put it on your device for free. But if we're using public resources, we do charge per page and per disc. And our preference is just to email things to people.
That's very good to know. That's very good to know. Yeah. So I'd appreciate if you look into it, because you see where I'm going with it.
We should probably look into this, because I think this is meant to be kind of an instructional form to the public on how to make a request to other departments. And we should really rethink this if we want to keep this up or get rid of it.
Yeah, because I actually can't find, like, if you just navigate through the website, I don't find that document. Yeah, that was a thing that was kind of just wondering about, because like
we should list it as a sample.
Exactly. There you go. Yeah, that a person can discern the difference between clicking the link, filing a complaint, which brings you to, I think, the core center homepage for anybody wanting to file a complaint. But if you go to that file a complaint page, it doesn't even mention that other thing that we just searched and it brought up, and that was actually the trigger for me to just scratch my head a little bit and wonder why it was there.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is something we'll need to think about it as a group. Do we want to keep this page, or do we just want to call it a sample, or something to that effect?
Yeah, give it the right context, put it in the right place, whatever. Yeah, that's it. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you for noticing this. I don't even recall this page. It's been so long. That's
No
the problem.
problem.
You know, we have so many web pages that we create on,
I
and
know.
then the people move on so quickly that they get forgotten.
I know it can be very easy for that to happen.
So, if you don't mind, if we can go ahead, if there's no more announcements, we can go ahead and Chair Hyland, if you want to adjourn.
Sure. Let's do any public comment on item 8.
Let me double check the panelists. There is nobody else here and in the meeting with us at this time.
All right. Next item, please.
Before we actually go to the next item, I wanted to talk about something. For the request that was not heard tonight by Mr. Hyde Hughes against Connie Chan, and I'm just putting it out there so that you guys can think about this, because it's something I want to address. How many pages of responsive records is too many pages of responsive records? Now, Mr. Hyde Hughes, the Connie Chan's office produced over 625 pages of responsive records. And I talked to Victor about this, and I would like a consensus on how many pages we should limit a response to. And my thinking is,
this is something we should probably send to the Rules Committee, because we've been talking about way too many things that are not listed on our agenda today.
Agreed. Yeah, good point, Cheryl. But this is something good for rules. You know what? I'd say the quick answer to that is there is no limit, because that's kind of what our charter is all about, right? So that's, but I understand from an administrative standpoint, you know, what's reasonable. That's another discussion. But I agree with Victor. I think we should probably table that until and let rules take that up. Or if you want to send a communication to Chair Yankee about that, that's probably appropriate too. All right. On that note, could we go to the next item, please?
item number 10, adjournment. I have 8:25. Who moves?
I'll make that motion.
I will second. All right. Thanks, everyone. Good meeting. A lot of interesting stuff in there.
All right.
See you guys in the next one. Thanks, Cheryl. Thanks.
Chris, can you hang
Appreciate
on for a
everybody's
second?
help.
Sure, I can hang on. Yep. Or you can call me if you like.